The courtroom froze in stunned silence. Every breath halted as a small figure pushed through the heavy oak doors. Her footsteps echoed against marble floors as she marched forward with determination that seemed impossible for someone so small. 7-year-old Lily Davenport clutched a worn folder against her chest, her knuckles white with tension. Her navy blue school uniform hung slightly loose on her thin frame, and her long brown hair had escaped its careful braids and wisps around her face. Judge Eleanor Harris looked up from her notes, steel gray eyebrows rising in surprise. The distinguished woman had presided over thousands of cases in her 30-year career, but nothing had prepared her for the sight of a child striding purposefully toward her bench, eyes bright with desperate resolve. "Young lady, what are you doing in my courtroom? Where is your guardian?" Lily swallowed hard but stood her ground. "My name is Lily Davenport. That man there is my father, Michael Davenport. I know things about what happened, important things." All eyes turned to Michael, who sat at the defendant's table. His expensive suit hung loose on his frame, evidence of weight loss during weeks of stress. His face registered shock, then fear, then a flash of pride that disappeared as quickly as it came. "Lily, no. You shouldn't be here." His voice cracked with emotion. Rebecca Morrison, elegant in a cream-colored suit, rose from her seat across the aisle. Her perfectly manicured hand reached out as if in concern, but her eyes flickered with something darker. "Your Honor, this is completely inappropriate. The child should be removed immediately." Judge Harris raised her hand for silence. For reasons she couldn't fully explain, something in the child's face made her pause. "Approach the bench, young lady." The next words Lily spoke would change everything. But how did they arrive at this moment of desperation? The story began months earlier on what started as an ordinary Thursday in the life of Michael Davenport. Autumn sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, bathing the conference room in golden light. Michael Davenport stood at the head of the polished mahogany table, commanding the attention of 12 executives as he detailed the quarterly projections. At 52, he cut an impressive figure. Silver threaded through his dark hair at the temples, giving him a distinguished appearance that complemented his tailored charcoal suit and the quiet authority in his voice. "The Richardson acquisition positions us to increase market share by 17% in the coming quarter." Michael gestured toward the digital display behind him, where graphs climbed steadily upward. "The board expects nothing less than excellence, and excellence is exactly what we'll deliver." No one noticed his smartphone vibrating insistently on the table. No one except Michael, who glanced at the screen with irritation that melted into confusion when he saw the name Charles Miller, attorney at law. Miller had handled his divorce 8 years ago, but they hadn't spoken since. Why would he call now in the middle of a workday? Michael continued his presentation without missing a beat, compartmentalizing as he'd learned to do years ago. Whatever Miller wanted could wait 40 minutes. Nothing was more important than securing the board's confidence in this moment. He couldn't have been more wrong. The Boston skyline glittered in the distance as Michael's Audi navigated the evening traffic. Rain had begun to fall, droplets racing each other down the windshield. His right hand gripped his phone so tightly his knuckles turned white, Miller's words echoing in his mind like a recurring nightmare. "Child Protective Services has been notified of allegations concerning your daughter Lily. They're launching an immediate investigation. Your nanny, Rebecca Morrison, has reported evidence of physical abuse." Michael's world collapsed into a singularity of disbelief and horror. Rebecca had reported him for abusing Lily. The accusation was so outrageous he'd actually laughed at first, until Miller's continued silence confirmed the gravity of the situation. "Michael, are you still there? This is serious. Very serious." The memory of Miller's voice jarred him back to the present as he pulled into the circular driveway of his Brookline home. The 3-story colonial with its manicured gardens and wraparound porch had once represented everything he'd achieved. Tonight it loomed ominously in the gathering darkness, harboring a threat he couldn't yet comprehend. He barely remembered to put the car in park before leaping out and racing up the front steps. The door swung open before he could insert his key, revealing Detective Sandra Torres and a man who introduced himself as Keith Lansing from Child Protective Services. "Mr. Davenport, we need to speak with you immediately," Torres said, her expression professionally neutral. "Is there somewhere we can talk privately?" "Where is my daughter?" Michael demanded, scanning the foyer behind them. "Where is Lily?" "Your daughter is safe," Lansing replied, his voice carrying the practiced calm of someone accustomed to volatile situations. She's with Ms. Morrison at your sister's house for the evening. Now, if we could please discuss the situation." Michael led them to his study, a room lined with leather-bound books and dominated by a heavy oak desk. The scent of lemon furniture polish and old paper usually calmed him, but tonight it provided no comfort. "This is absurd," he said the moment the door closed behind them. "I have never laid a hand on my daughter. Never. Rebecca knows this. She's been with us for 6 months." Torres removed a small notebook from her pocket. "Mr. Davenport, Ms. Morrison contacted authorities this morning after discovering bruising on your daughter's back and arms. When gently questioned, Lily allegedly said, 'Daddy gets angry sometimes.'" The words struck Michael like physical blows. "That's impossible. Lily would never say that because it never happened." "We also found disturbing items in your daughter's room." Lansing added, his eyes never leaving Michael's face, watching for reactions. "Things that suggest a pattern of intimidation and fear." "What things? What are you talking about? I want to see my daughter now." Michael fought to keep his voice steady as panic threatened to overwhelm him. "I'm afraid that won't be possible tonight," Lansing replied. "A temporary restraining order has been issued. Until our investigation is complete, you cannot have unsupervised contact with Lily." Michael sank into his chair, the strength suddenly leaving his legs. This couldn't be happening. Just this morning he'd made Lily pancakes with strawberry eyes and a banana smile as he did every Thursday. She'd giggled and called him silly before kissing his cheek and skipping off to school. How had his world imploded so completely in the span of 12 hours? As the reality of the situation began to settle over him, one thought crystallized with perfect clarity. Rebecca, the woman he trusted with his most precious treasure, the woman who'd slowly become more than just his daughter's nanny over the past 6 months, the woman he'd begun to imagine might someday help heal the hole in their small family that Catherine's death had left 3 years ago. Why would she do this? What could she possibly gain? "I need to show you something," Michael said suddenly, standing up and walking to his desk. He opened his laptop and pulled up the home security system. "I have cameras in all the common areas of the house. If there was any abuse, it would be recorded." Torres and Lansing exchanged glances. "The footage from the past 2 weeks is missing," Michael said incredulously as he scrolled through the archives. "Someone deleted it. This system requires my password. The only other person who has it is Rebecca Morrison." Torres finished making a note. "We'll look into that, Mr. Davenport, but for now the protective order stands." After they left, Michael stood alone in his study, rain lashing against the windows as thunder rumbled in the distance. The perfect metaphor for the storm that had just engulfed his life. He pulled out his phone and called his sister Caroline. "I need to speak to Lily," he said the moment she answered. "Michael, I can't. They told me specifically not to let you talk to her." Caroline's voice was strained. "Rebecca is here with her. There are social workers. Michael, what's happening?" "It's all lies, Caroline. You know me. You know I would never hurt Lily." "Of course I know that." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "But they showed me photos of bruises, Michael, and they said Lily told them." "Lily didn't tell them anything because there's nothing to tell." Michael struggled to control his rising voice. "Caroline, please, just tell Lily that I love her and I'll fix this." After hanging up, Michael paced the study like a caged animal. His thoughts raced in desperate circles until one name surfaced above the chaos: Victoria Chambers, the best family attorney in Massachusetts. If anyone could help him navigate this nightmare, it would be her. As he made the call, Michael had no idea that the true nightmare was only beginning. The photograph trembled in Victoria Chambers' manicured fingers. The image showed a child's back marked with bruises in various stages of healing. "These were taken by the school nurse yesterday," Victoria said, her normally commanding voice softened with concern. "Rebecca brought Lily in complaining of back pain." They sat in Victoria's corner office at Chambers Holloway and Burke, 40 stories above Boston. The city stretched out below them, people scurrying like ants, oblivious to the devastation unfolding in this sleek modern room. "Those aren't from me." Michael's voice was hollow. "Victoria, you have to believe me." Victoria had known Michael for 15 years, since his company first went public and required serious legal representation. She'd handled his divorce from his first wife, helped with Catherine's estate after her death from cancer, and watched him rebuild his life as a single father. I do believe you, Michael. But belief isn't evidence, and the evidence against you is mounting. She laid several more photographs on the glass table between them. These items were found hidden in Lily's closet. Michael stared in disbelief at images of a torn teddy bear, a journal with disturbing entries about when daddy gets mad, and a small bag packed with clothes and a toothbrush as if Lily had been preparing to run away. This is insane. I've never seen any of these things. Michael ran his hands through his hair, disheveling it further. Victoria, someone is framing me. That's exactly what I'm thinking, but we need proof. Victoria's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Tell me everything you know about Rebecca Morrison. Michael recounted how he'd met Rebecca 6 months ago at a charity event for children's cancer research, a cause close to his heart after losing Catherine. Rebecca had approached him, mentioned she was a child psychologist specializing in grief counseling, and they'd struck up a conversation about Lily, who still struggled with losing her mother. She seemed perfect, Michael said bitterly. Warm, intelligent, experienced with children who'd suffered loss. When our previous nanny retired, Rebecca offered to help temporarily. Lily took to her immediately. It seemed providential. And your relationship evolved, Victoria probed gently. Michael nodded, embarrassment coloring his features. We started dating about 2 months ago. Nothing serious yet, but heading that way. She's been staying over occasionally. Lily seemed happy about it. Victoria made notes in precise handwriting. We need to investigate Rebecca thoroughly. If she's setting you up, there must be a reason. The only thing that makes any sense is money. Michael's voice hardened. My estate is worth over $30 million. Most of it is in trust for Lily, with me as trustee until she turns 25. Victoria's eyebrows rose. If you were convicted of child abuse, I'd lose everything, Michael finished grimly. Control of the trust would go to Lily's guardian. Who would that be? Michael closed his eyes briefly. According to my will, my sister Caroline. But in the revised version I was finalizing next week, I was naming Rebecca. Victoria's pen stopped moving. You were going to name a woman you'd known for 6 months as your daughter's guardian. The silence that followed was deafening. She suggested it would provide stability for Lily if anything happened to me, Michael said quietly, the full weight of his naivety crashing down upon him. I thought she cared about us. Michael, when did you tell her about this change to your will? 3 weeks ago. Victoria stood abruptly. We need to move fast. I'm filing emergency motions today to challenge the protective order. I'm also hiring a private investigator to dig into Rebecca's background. As Michael rose to leave, Victoria placed her hand on his arm. There's something else you should know. Rebecca has filed for emergency custody of Lily, claiming a special bond with the child and stating that Lily has begged her not to leave her alone with you. Michael's face drained of all color. She's trying to take my daughter. Yes, Victoria confirmed, and she's moving very quickly. The hearing is set for next week. The playground bustled with activity as children swarmed over colorful equipment, their shrieks of joy carrying on the crisp autumn air. Michael sat in his parked car across the street, binoculars trained on the small figure in a navy blue uniform, swinging alone at the far end of the schoolyard. Lily's face was solemn, her small legs pumping mechanically as she stared at the ground. Even from this distance, Michael could see she'd lost weight. Her dark hair hung limp instead of bouncing in the neat braids he'd learned to create after Catherine died. The sight of his daughter looking so diminished tore at his heart. This violated the protective order, but he had to see her, had to know she was all right. 3 days had passed since his world imploded, 3 days of desperate phone calls, emergency motions, and sleepless nights pacing his empty house. Through the binoculars, he watched as Rebecca approached the playground. She wore a simple green dress with a cardigan, looking every inch the caring nanny as she called out to Lily. Michael's stomach clenched as he observed their interaction. Rebecca knelt beside the swing, speaking animatedly. From this distance, everything looked normal, loving even. Then Rebecca glanced over her shoulder, checking if anyone was watching. Her hand closed around Lily's arm, fingers digging in visibly even from Michael's vantage point. Lily's body stiffened, her face registering pain before smoothing into a practiced blankness that no 7-year-old should know how to achieve. Michael fumbled for his phone, hands shaking so badly he almost dropped it. He snapped several photos, zooming in as best he could. The evidence wasn't perfect, but it showed something. As he lowered the phone, movement caught his eye. Rebecca was leading Lily toward the school building, but Lily had turned her head. She was staring directly at his car, her small face lighting up with recognition. Before Rebecca yanked her forward, Lily's hand raised in the slightest wave, a secret communication meant only for him. She knows I'm here, Michael thought, tears burning his eyes. She knows I haven't abandoned her. His phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. Meeting now, PI found something. Come immediately. Frank Mosley looked nothing like Michael expected a private investigator to look. With his pressed chinos, blue blazer, and wire-rimmed glasses, he resembled an economics professor, more than the hard-boiled detective of film noir. Rebecca Morrison doesn't exist, Mosley stated bluntly, sliding a folder across Victoria's desk. At least not until about 2 years ago. Michael and Victoria exchanged glances. Explain, Victoria prompted. Her social security number belongs to a Rebecca Morrison who died as an infant in 1982. Her credentials as a child psychologist are forgeries, good ones, but they don't hold up to deep scrutiny. None of the institutions she claims to have attended have records of her. Michael felt sick. Who is she then? I believe her real name is Elaine Winters. Mosley placed a photograph on the desk showing a younger version of Rebecca with darker hair. She's been linked to 2 similar situations in the past 5 years. Wealthy, single father, deceased mother, vulnerable child. She ingratiates herself, makes allegations, then somehow ends up with control of the finances. What happened to the fathers? Michael asked, dreading the answer. One lost custody and committed suicide 6 months later. The other fought back and died in a car accident before the case was resolved. Brake lines cut. Never proven but suspicious. The implications hung heavy in the air. There's more, Mosley continued. She doesn't work alone. I've identified at least one accomplice, a man named James Forrester, who poses as a child psychologist or social worker. He provides expert testimony about the children's mental state. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Is he involved in Michael's case? Not yet, but there's a James Foster who recently joined the staff at Lily's school as a counselor. The timing is suspicious. Michael slammed his fist on the desk, making them both jump. They're surrounding my daughter, isolating her. His voice broke. God knows what they're telling her, what they're doing to her. We have enough to take to the police, Victoria said, already reaching for her phone. Wait, Mosley held up his hand. There's a problem. Elaine Winters or Rebecca Morrison, whatever her name is, she has friends in high places. The detective assigned to your case, Sandra Torres. They have history. I have found photos of them together from last year. Michael's hope deflated as quickly as it had risen. So the police won't help us. Some might, but we can't be sure who to trust. And we need absolutely solid evidence before we move. If we show our hand too early, Lily pays the price, Michael finished, his voice hollow. There's one more thing you should know, Mosley said hesitantly. Rebecca has a storage unit registered under her false identity. My sources tell me she visited it yesterday carrying a large duffel bag. She's planning to run, Victoria surmised, probably once she secures the custody order and access to the trust. Michael stood abruptly. I need to see what's in that storage unit. That would be breaking and entering, Victoria warned. I don't care. Michael's eyes blazed with a father's desperate determination. My daughter is being abused by the very person who accused me of hurting her. Every minute we wait is another minute Lily suffers. I'll deal with the legal consequences later. Mosley and Victoria exchanged glances. I might have a contact who could help us access that storage facility legally, Mosley said slowly. But it will take time. Time is the one thing Lily doesn't have, Michael replied. The custody hearing is in 4 days. As if summoned by his words, Michael's phone rang. The screen displayed an unknown number. Something made him answer and put it on speaker. Daddy? The small voice was barely audible, thick with tears and fear. Lily, Michael clutched the phone tighter. Sweetheart, where are you? Are you okay? School bathroom, she whispered. I took Jessica's phone when she wasn't looking. Jessica was Caroline's teenage daughter, Michael recalled. She must be helping Rebecca with Lily after school. Daddy, she's not nice when you're not there. She hurts me and says if I tell, they'll take me away forever and put you in jail. Lily's voice broke on a sob. She makes the bruises herself when I'm sleeping. I tried to stay awake, but she put something in my milk. Michael's blood ran cold. Victoria and Mosley leaned closer, recording the conversation on their phones. She says we're going on a trip after court, that we'll never come back. Daddy, I'm scared. Listen to me, Lily, Michael said, fighting to keep his voice calm and reassuring. You are the bravest girl I know. I am working day and night to fix this. I promise I will not let her take you away. She has friends, Daddy, the new counselor at school. He asked me questions about you that sound nice but aren't. And there's a lady doctor who checked my bruises. They're all her friends. Mr. Davenport, a new voice came on the line, young and nervous. Jessica, Lily disappeared from the library area. Rebecca's looking for her right now. I think she's on to us. Jessica, listen carefully, Michael said urgently. Your mom knows me. She knows I would never hurt Lily. I need your help. I know, Uncle Michael. Jessica replied, the familial title she'd used since childhood slipping out naturally. Mom doesn't believe any of this either, but Rebecca has some kind of hold over her. She's threatened something, but Mom won't tell me what. Michael exchanged alarmed glances with Victoria. Jessica, can you get Lily's journal, the one they found in her closet? Maybe. It's in Rebecca's bag. She carries it everywhere. Daddy, she's coming. Lily's panicked whisper cut through. I have to go. I love you. Lily, wait. Meet me at our special place. When it's safe. You remember? Michael called desperately. The line went dead. The three adults stared at each other in stunned silence. Our special place, Michael repeated softly, hope dawning on his face. The treehouse in the backyard. We call it the Cloud Castle. Rebecca doesn't know about it. Lily and I built it together after Catherine died. It was our healing project. You need to be there, Victoria said decisively. Tonight. But the restraining order, Mosley cautioned. Victoria's eyes flashed. Sometimes the law must bow to a higher justice. A child is in danger. For the first time in days, Michael felt a surge of genuine hope. His daughter was fighting back. His brave, brilliant little girl hadn't given up. Neither would he. Moonlight filtered through autumn leaves, casting dappled shadows across the expansive backyard of Michael's home. The magnificent oak tree stood sentinel near the back fence, its ancient branches cradling a structure that was far more than a simple treehouse. The Cloud Castle, as Lily had named it, was Michael's labor of love. Built during the dark months after Catherine's death, it featured real windows, a small porch, and even a secret trapdoor that only he and Lily knew about. Inside was a cozy space with bookshelves, battery-powered lights, and cushions, where father and daughter had spent countless hours healing together through stories and quiet talks. Michael crouched in the shadows of the garden shed, watching the main house. Most windows were dark except for the soft glow from Lily's bedroom and the sharper light from the kitchen, where Rebecca moved about, visible in brief glimpses. 2 hours passed. Michael remained motionless, despite the chill seeping into his bones. His determination burned hot enough to ward off the autumn cold. At last, the light in Lily's room extinguished. 20 minutes later, Rebecca's bedroom light followed suit. Michael waited another 30 minutes before creeping toward the massive oak. He climbed the hidden pegs they'd installed on the backside of the trunk, invisible from the house. The familiar route brought him to the small porch where he gently tapped the pattern they'd created together. 3 quick taps, pause, 2 slow taps. Nothing happened. He repeated the signal, heart sinking. Had he misunderstood? Or worse, had Rebecca prevented Lily from coming? Just as despair began to overtake him, the small door cracked open. A tiny face peered out, illuminated by moonlight. Lily's eyes widened, then filled with tears as she launched herself into her father's arms. Daddy, she sobbed against his chest. You came. Michael held her close, his own tears flowing freely as he breathed in the familiar scent of her hair. For one perfect moment, the nightmare receded. Then he gently pulled back, examining her face in the dim light. A bruise shadowed her left cheek. Anger surged through him with volcanic force, but he suppressed it, knowing it would only frighten his daughter. Lily, listen carefully, he whispered. I need you to tell me everything. Everything Rebecca has done, everything she's said about her plans. Lily nodded, her small face setting with determination beyond her years. She says we're leaving right after court on Monday. She has tickets. I saw them on her computer. She left it open when she went to the bathroom. Where to? Some island. The pictures look pretty, but I don't want to go. Lily's voice quavered. She has a new name for me. Emma. She makes me practice answering to it. Michael's blood ran cold. Rebecca truly meant to disappear with his daughter erasing Lily Davenport from existence. What about your Aunt Caroline? Does Rebecca threaten her too? Lily nodded. She showed Aunt Caroline pictures, bad pictures that she said would hurt Jessica if anyone saw them. But they're fake pictures. I heard her talking to someone named James about how good the Photoshop looked. So that was Rebecca's leverage over Caroline. Manufactured evidence threatening her daughter's reputation or safety. Sweetheart, I need you to be very brave for a few more days, Michael said, holding her small hands in his. Victoria, my lawyer is helping me. We're going to stop Rebecca, but we need proof. I have proof, Lily whispered. To Michael's astonishment, she pulled out a small pink device from her pajama pocket. Jessica gave me her old phone. She put a special app on it that records even when the screen is dark. I've been hiding it under my pillow at night and under the table when Rebecca talks to her friends. Michael stared at his daughter in awe. You recorded her? Lily nodded solemnly, and I took pictures of the bruises she makes when she thinks I'm asleep. The phone sends everything to Jessica's computer automatically. Hope surged through Michael with dizzying force. Lily, you incredible, brilliant girl. This could save us. A noise from the house made them both freeze. A light had come on in the kitchen. You have to go, Lily whispered urgently. She sometimes checks on me at night. Michael hugged her fiercely. Keep recording everything. I'll see you in court on Monday. No matter what happens, remember that I love you more than anything in this world. I love you too, Daddy, Lily replied, her voice steadier now. I'm not scared anymore. Not now that I know you're fighting for me. As Michael slipped away into the darkness, his daughter's words echoed in his mind. He would fight for her. To his last breath if necessary. What he didn't know was how literal that promise would become. The courthouse loomed imposing and majestic against the clear blue autumn sky. People streamed up and down the wide stone steps, their lives intersecting briefly in this temple to justice before diverging again. For some today would bring resolution. For others, like Michael, it represented a desperate last stand. Michael straightened his tie as he climbed the steps beside Victoria. They had spent the weekend building their case with the evidence from Lily's recordings. The material was damning Rebecca, clearly discussing her plans to take Lily away, administering some kind of sedative, and even creating bruises while the child slept. The storage unit had yielded further evidence, including falsified passports and financial documents, showing attempts to access Lily's trust fund. Yet Victoria remained concerned. Rebecca has connections we don't fully understand. The judge assigned to our case, Eleanor Harris, has a reputation for being tough but fair. However, she tends to err on the side of caution when it comes to child safety. Meaning she might keep Lily away from me even with this evidence? Michael asked incredulously. Possibly temporarily until a more thorough investigation can be conducted. Victoria's expression was grim. And time is the one luxury we don't have. Rebecca is ready to run. They passed through security and made their way to courtroom 3. Rebecca was already there, looking demure and concerned in a cream-colored suit, conferring quietly with her attorney. When she saw Michael, her expression shifted momentarily, revealing a flash of cold calculation before settling back into a mask of worry. Carolyn sat on a bench near the front, her face drawn and anxious. When she caught Michael's eye, she mouthed, "I'm sorry," with genuine anguish. At precisely 9:00 a.m., the bailiff called for all to rise as Judge Eleanor Harris entered. The proceedings began with Rebecca's attorney presenting their case first, painting Michael as a grieving widower who turned to alcohol and then violence after his wife's death, using his wealth and influence to hide his abusive behavior. Rebecca took the stand, tears glistening as she described discovering bruises on Lily, how the child allegedly confided in her about her father's rages and her own anguish at having to report the man she had come to care for. "I only want what's best for Lily," Rebecca concluded, her voice breaking perfectly on cue. "She needs stability and safety. I've provided that, and I'm willing to continue doing so for as long as necessary." Victoria's cross-examination was surgical, designed to lay the groundwork for their evidence without showing their full hand too early. She established inconsistencies in Rebecca's timeline, questioned her credentials, and raised doubts about the bruise's origins. Then it was Michael's turn to testify. He spoke with quiet dignity about his relationship with Lily, how they had supported each other after Catherine's death, and the shock of Rebecca's accusations. "My daughter is my world," he said simply. "I have never and would never hurt her. These allegations aren't just false, they're part of an elaborate scheme to gain control of Lily's trust fund." Just as Victoria was about to present their evidence, the courtroom doors swung open. All heads turned as Detective Torres entered, accompanied by two uniformed officers. She approached the judge and requested permission to address the court. "Your Honor, new evidence has come to light in this case. Ms. Morrison's phone records and financial transactions indicate possible criminal intent. We're requesting a recess to investigate further." Rebecca's attorney leapt to his feet. "Objection. This is highly irregular and prejudicial. Detective Torres has been investigating this case from the beginning. If she had concerns, they should have been raised through proper channels." Judge Harris frowned. "Detective, is there a reason this information wasn't included in your initial report?" Torres hesitated, then spoke carefully. "Your Honor, I recently discovered that certain evidence may have been overlooked or suppressed. I've reported this to Internal Affairs and requested a new investigative team take over." Rebecca's composure cracked slightly, her eyes darting toward the exit. Michael recognized the look of someone calculating their escape. Judge Harris considered for a moment. "I'll grant a 1-hour recess while I review this new information in chambers. Detective Torres, I expect a full explanation." As the judge rose, chaos erupted in the courtroom. Rebecca huddled with her lawyer, their faces tense. Victoria turned to Michael with cautious optimism. "Something's changed." Torres was firmly in Rebecca's camp before. Michael's response died on his lips as the courtroom doors burst open once more. Every head turned to see a small figure in a navy blue school uniform marching determinedly down the center aisle, clutching a worn folder to her chest. Lily had arrived. The courtroom fell into stunned silence as the 7-year-old approached the judge's bench. Judge Harris, halfway to her chambers, stopped and stared at the unexpected intrusion. "Young lady, what are you doing in my courtroom? Where is your guardian?" Lily swallowed hard but stood her ground. "My name is Lily Davenport. That man there is my father, Michael Davenport. I know things about what happened. Important things." Rebecca rose from her seat, her face a mask of concern that didn't reach her eyes. "Your Honor, this is completely inappropriate. The child should be removed immediately." Judge Harris raised her hand for silence, something in Lily's determined expression making her pause. "Approach the bench, young lady." Michael watched in a mixture of pride and terror as his daughter walked forward, her small shoulders squared with resolve. Everything hung in the balance, now balanced on the courage of a 7-year-old child. As Lily began to speak, Michael knew that regardless of the outcome, his daughter had already proven herself the bravest person in the room. And he would spend the rest of his life making sure she never needed such courage again. Judge Harris's chambers exuded quiet authority, with its dark oak panels and rows of leather-bound law books. The afternoon sun slanted through Venetian blinds, casting striped shadows across the polished desk, where Lily Davenport sat, her small legs dangling above the floor. Her folder lay open before her, revealing meticulous childish handwriting and printed photographs carefully organized with colored tabs. "I recorded everything," Lily explained, her voice small but steady. "When she hurt me, when she practiced my new name with me, when she talked on the phone about the island and the money." Judge Harris studied the child with a mixture of compassion and professional detachment. In 30 years on the bench, she had developed an instinct for truth, especially from children. This girl's unwavering gaze held none of the shifting uncertainty of fabrication. "May Saint?" the judge asked, gesturing to the small pink phone nestled among the papers. Lily nodded, watching intently as Judge Harris pressed play on the first recording. Rebecca's voice filled the room, cold and calculating in a way that contradicted her courtroom persona entirely. "Stop crying or I'll give you something real to cry about. Your father doesn't want you anymore. He told me himself. Why do you think he works so late to avoid seeing you?" The judge's expression hardened as she listened to more recordings, Rebecca discussing falsified documents with someone named James, planning their departure immediately after gaining custody, and most damning of all, the soft sounds of Rebecca creating bruises on a sedated child while murmuring about making them convincing but not too severe. When the final recording ended, Judge Harris removed her glasses and rubbed the bridge of her nose. She had seen many disturbing cases in her career, but the calculated cruelty evidenced here chilled even her experienced heart. "Lily," she said gently, "how did you know to record these things?" "My cousin Jessica helped me." She didn't believe Rebecca either. Lily's fingers traced the edge of a photograph showing purple bruises on her pale skin. "And Daddy always says evidence is how we prove the truth. That's why he has cameras in our house." A soft knock interrupted them. The bailiff entered, his expression grave. "Your Honor, Detective Torres requests permission to join you. She says it's urgent." The judge nodded, and moments later Torres entered, carrying a thick folder of her own. Her professional demeanor seemed strained guilt shadowing her features as she acknowledged Lily with a gentle nod. "Your Honor, I've made a terrible mistake." Torres placed her folder on the desk. "These documents prove Rebecca Morrison is actually Elaine Winters, wanted for questioning in 2 previous cases involving single fathers with substantial assets. Both men died under suspicious circumstances after she gained influence over their children." Judge Harris's expression darkened further. "And you're only discovering this now?" Detective Torres had the grace to look ashamed. "I was compromised, Your Honor. Rebecca and I were roommates in college. When this case came up, she contacted me, claimed she was in danger from an abusive employer. I believed her without properly investigating." She straightened her shoulders. "I've reported myself to internal affairs. My career is probably over, but that's far less important than this child's safety." The judge turned back to Lily, whose small face showed understanding beyond her years. "Lily, I need to bring your father and the attorneys in here now. Would that be all right with you?" Lily nodded, sitting up straighter in the oversized chair. "Rebecca is dangerous," she said simply. "Please don't make me go with her." "That," Judge Harris replied with quiet conviction, "is not going to happen." The courtroom hummed with tension as Judge Harris resumed the proceedings. Michael sat with renewed hope, fortified by the brief meeting in chambers where Lily's evidence had been revealed. His daughter now sat in a special witness room, watched over by a court-appointed guardian, safely away from Rebecca. Rebecca herself had transformed subtly during the recess. Her perfectly composed demeanor showed hairline fractures, eyes darting occasionally to the courtroom exits, fingers restlessly rearranging papers before her. She reminded Michael of a cornered predator, calculating whether fight or flight offered better chances. "In light of new evidence," Judge Harris began, her voice resonating with authority, "this court finds sufficient cause to dismiss the allegations against Michael Davenport. The temporary restraining order is hereby dissolved." Relief washed over Michael like a physical wave, nearly buckling his knees even as he remained seated. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "based on evidence suggesting criminal conduct, I am ordering Rebecca Morrison, also known as Elaine Winters, remanded to custody pending criminal charges of fraud, child endangerment, and conspiracy." Rebecca's attorney rose to object, but she placed a restraining hand on his arm, her eyes never leaving the judge's face. Her expression remained eerily calm, almost bemused. "Your Honor," Rebecca said, her voice steady, "may I be permitted to gather my personal effects from Mr. Davenport's home before being taken into custody? There are medications I require." Judge Harris considered the request, then nodded. "Detective Torres will accompany you to retrieve essential items only. You will remain in custody thereafter until arraignment." As court officers approached Rebecca, Michael felt a chill of foreboding. Something in her composed acceptance seemed wrong. The woman he had come to know over the past months would not surrender so easily. Victoria leaned close to whisper, "It's over, Michael. You've won." But Michael couldn't shake his unease. "It seems too simple." "Simple? You call the past week simple?" Victoria's eyebrow arched in surprise. "She has contingencies. People like her always do." Michael watched as Rebecca was escorted from the courtroom, her posture relaxed, almost confident. "Where's Lily now?" "In the witness room with Mrs. Patel from Family Services. She's safe." Michael nodded, but the knot of anxiety in his stomach only tightened. "I need to see her. Now." The Family Services wing occupied the 3rd floor of the courthouse, a space designed to feel less institutional with colorful walls and comfortable furniture. Michael strode down the corridor, Victoria matching his pace, her heels clicking sharply on the polished floor. "Slow down, Michael," she cautioned. "You're going to frighten people charging in like this." But Michael couldn't slow down. The sense of impending danger had only intensified since they'd left the courtroom. Something was wrong. He could feel it with the same certainty that had guided his most successful business decisions. They rounded the corner to find chaos. Court officers clustered outside the witness room, radios crackling with urgent communications. A woman Michael recognized as Mrs. Patel sat on a bench holding an ice pack to her head, her sari disheveled. Cold terror gripped Michael's heart. "Where is my daughter?" A court officer turned, recognizing him. "Mr. Davenport, sir, there's been an incident." "Where is Lily?" Michael repeated, his voice rising. Mrs. Patel looked up, her eyes dazed but filled with genuine regret. "I'm so sorry. A man came, said he was from the judge's office. He had proper identification. When I turned to check the paperwork, he struck me from behind." Victoria pulled out her phone. "Oh, señores, I'm calling Judge Harris." Michael barely heard her, the roaring in his ears, drowning out all other sounds. "Description. Give me a description." "Tall man, dark suit. He called himself James Foster." Mrs. Patel winced as she adjusted the ice pack. "He took Lily through the service exit. She went willingly at first, but then I heard her cry out. That's the last thing I remember." James Foster, the accomplice Mosley had identified, the school counselor who'd been questioning Lily. Michael turned on his heel and sprinted toward the stairs, ignoring Victoria's calls behind him. The service exit would lead to the parking structure. If he hurried, there might still be time. He burst into the parking garage, the artificial lighting casting harsh shadows between concrete pillars. Frantically scanning rows of vehicles, he spotted movement near a black SUV with tinted windows 3 aisles over. A tall man in a dark suit was forcing a struggling child into the back seat. "Lily!" Michael shouted, his voice echoing off concrete walls. The man's head snapped up. Lily twisted in his grasp, her face lighting with desperate hope. "Daddy!" she screamed, kicking and flailing with renewed vigor. Michael sprinted toward them, but the distance seemed impossibly vast. The man shoved Lily roughly into the vehicle and slammed the door, then hurried around to the driver's side. "Stop!" Michael was close enough now to see the man's face, memorizing every detail for police reports. James Foster looked younger than Michael expected, barely 30, with close-cropped blonde hair and the bland, forgettable features of someone accustomed to blending into backgrounds. Foster yanked open the driver's door, but paused to level a cold stare at Michael. "She never should have fought back," he said, his voice flat and emotionless. "None of this would have happened if your daughter hadn't been so stubborn." The SUV's engine roared to life. Michael lunged the final distance, grabbing Foster's suit jacket, but the man twisted free with practiced ease. A sharp pain exploded in Michael's ribs as Foster landed a precise blow, dropping him to one knee. Through the tinted window, Michael could see Lily's small face pressed against the glass, her mouth forming his name. Their eyes locked for one agonizing moment before the SUV screeched backward, narrowly missing Michael as it accelerated toward the exit ramp. Michael staggered to his feet, fumbling for his phone. His fingers felt numb as he dialed 911, gasping out details between painful breaths. Black SUV, late model Ford Expedition, heading east on Commonwealth Avenue. Abducted child Lily Davenport, 7 years old, Navy uniform. Suspect James Foster, blonde, approximately 30, dark suit. Even as he spoke, Michael was moving, running toward his own car, ignoring the stabbing pain in his side that suggested Foster's blow had cracked a rib. Victoria's voice called from the stairwell entrance. "Michael, police are on their way." He barely slowed, throwing over his shoulder. "They've taken Lily, black SUV, headed east." Reaching his Audi, Michael flung himself into the driver's seat. The engine purred to life, and he accelerated up the exit ramp, tires squealing on the sharp turn. Commonwealth Avenue stretched before him, clogged with midday traffic. The black SUV was nowhere in sight. Desperation threatened to overwhelm him, but Michael forced it down, channeling the cold, analytical focus that had built his business empire. Think. What would Rebecca's contingency plan look like? Where would they take Lily? The airport was the obvious answer, but too risky with police alerts. Rebecca had mentioned an island. Private marinas dotted the Massachusetts coastline. A boat could disappear much more easily than a plane. Michael pressed the hands-free button on his steering wheel. "Call Frank Mosley." The PI answered on the second ring. "Davenport? What's happening?" "They've taken Lily." Foster grabbed her from the courthouse. Black SUV heading east. Michael swerved around a delivery truck, earning angry honks. Rebecca had escape plans. Would she use a boat? Possible. She has connections to a marina in Gloucester. I was looking into ownership records of a yacht registered to one of her aliases. Mosley's voice sharpened with urgency. I'll send you the coordinates. But Michael, wait for police backup. These people are dangerous. They have my daughter, Michael replied, his voice deadly calm. Nothing on earth will keep me from finding her. The coordinates appeared on his phone screen. Gloucester was 40 minutes north in good traffic. Michael floored the accelerator, weaving through cars with a recklessness born of desperate necessity. As the city fell away behind him, one thought consumed Michael's mind. Rebecca had underestimated him once by believing he wouldn't fight for his child. She wouldn't live to make that mistake twice. The marina sprawled along Gloucester's rocky coastline, white boats bobbing in their slips, like oversized toys against the deepening blue of late afternoon. Michael abandoned his car in the parking lot, ignoring the crooked angle across two spaces. His ribs throbbed with each breath as he scanned the docks, searching for anything resembling the yacht from Mosley's information. Police sirens wailed in the distance, but Michael couldn't wait. He moved swiftly down the main pier, checking each slip against the registration number Mosley had texted. Salt air filled his lungs, mingling with the sense of rope and diesel fuel. Gulls circled overhead, their cries seeming to mock his growing desperation. Then he saw it, a sleek 50-foot yacht named New Beginnings, its white hull gleaming in the fading light. The irony of the name might have struck Michael under different circumstances. Now he registered only that it matched the registration number, and that a dark SUV was parked haphazardly near the gangway leading to its slip. Moving closer, Michael crouched behind a stack of crates, assessing the situation. The yacht appeared quiet, its deck empty. Had he arrived before them? Or were they already below deck, preparing to depart? His question was answered when the cabin door opened and James Foster emerged, scanning the marina with wary eyes. Rebecca followed, her courtroom attire replaced by casual sailing clothes, her hair tucked under a baseball cap. She carried a small duffel bag in one hand, her movements efficient and unhurried. There was no sign of Lily. Michael's heart stuttered. Was his daughter even on the boat? Or had they hidden her somewhere else as additional insurance? Foster descended the gangway to retrieve something from the SUV, leaving Rebecca alone on deck. Michael saw his opportunity and moved quickly, using other boats as cover until he reached the yacht's stern. The boarding ladder hung just above the waterline. Moving silently, he pulled himself up, ignoring the stabbing pain in his side. He eased himself onto the polished deck, crouching behind a storage locker. Rebecca stood at the bow, her back to him, speaking into a satellite phone. Michael strained to hear her words over the lapping water and distant marina sounds. 2 hours maximum, she was saying. Once we clear territorial waters, we'll rendezvous at the coordinates. Yes, I have the girl. No, she's sedated. Caused too much trouble at the courthouse. Sedated. The word sent ice through Michael's veins. He thought of Lily, small and vulnerable, chemically subdued, somewhere on this boat while her kidnappers planned their escape. Rebecca ended her call and turned freezing when she saw Michael rising from his hiding place. "Hello, Rebecca," Michael said, his voice deadly quiet. "Or should I call you Elaine?" For a moment, genuine shock registered on her face. Then her features smoothed into that familiar mask of control, though her eyes darted briefly toward the gangway. "Michael, I'm impressed, truly." She took a step backward, maintaining distance between them. "But you shouldn't have come alone. Where is my daughter?" Rebecca smiled, a cold expression that never reached her eyes. "Safe for now, though her future well-being depends entirely on your cooperation." Michael advanced slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. "The game is over. Police are on their way. There's nowhere left to run. There's always somewhere to run when you have enough money." Rebecca's hand moved toward her pocket. "Which brings me to my proposal. The trust fund, Michael. Sign it over and Lily goes home with you today. Refuse and you'll never see her again." "You still don't understand, do you?" Michael took another step forward. "I would burn every dollar I've ever earned if it meant keeping Lily safe. The money means nothing." Noble sentiment. Rebecca's smile turned pitying, but ultimately foolish. Money is the only thing that truly matters in this world. It's why Catherine died, you know. Michael froze. "What did you say?" "Catherine's cancer treatments were experimental." Expensive. Rebecca's eyes gleamed with cruel satisfaction at having captured his full attention. Insurance wouldn't cover them, but you were so busy with your precious company, you never noticed the research I did. Never questioned why her condition deteriorated so rapidly after I became her friend and caregiver. Horror dawned on Michael's face as the implications registered. You interfered with her treatment. Such a small adjustment to her medications. Just enough to ensure the treatments failed. Rebecca's voice held no remorse, only clinical detachment. It was necessary preparation. You needed to be vulnerable, distracted by grief, the perfect target. Rage surged through Michael, hot and blinding. His hands clenched into fists, every muscle tense to lunge at the woman who had orchestrated not only his daughter's torment, but his wife's death. Rebecca recognized his intent and quickly withdrew a small revolver from her pocket. Not another step. I'm an excellent shot, Michael. And if you're dead, who will save Lily? The gun looked obscenely small in her manicured hand, but Michael had no doubt she would use it. Her eyes held the flat, emotionless quality he recognized from predators, human or animal. Speaking of our precious girl, Rebecca continued gesturing with the gun toward the cabin. She's below deck. The sedative should wear off in a few hours. By then we'll be international waters. Your choice, Michael, the money or your daughter's life. Michael forced himself to appear defeated, shoulders slumping, eyes downcast. I need proof she's alive. Rebecca considered this, then nodded. Fair enough, stay where you are. Keeping the gun trained on him, she moved sideways toward the cabin door and pushed it open with her foot. James, she called, bring the girl up. Daddy wants proof of life. No response came from below. Rebecca's brow furrowed slightly. James. The momentary distraction was all Michael needed. He lunged forward, closing the distance between them with explosive speed. Rebecca fired the shot going wide as Michael knocked her arm upward. The gun clattered across the deck as they grappled Rebecca's strength, surprising him. She fought with the desperation of someone who knew capture meant the end of everything. Her nails raked across his face, drawing blood. Her knee connected with his injured ribs, sending white-hot pain lancing through his body. But Michael fought with something stronger than desperation. He fought with the cold fury of a father whose child had been threatened, a husband whose wife had been murdered. He caught Rebecca's wrist, forcing her backward until she hit the railing. You're finished, he growled, his face inches from hers. You will spend the rest of your life in prison thinking about all the lives you've destroyed. Rebecca's expression shifted from rage to something like amusement. You still don't get it, do you? I'm never going to prison. With surprising strength, she twisted one arm free and shoved hard against his injured side. Pain exploded through Michael's body. He stumbled backward, momentarily blinded by agony. When his vision cleared, Rebecca had climbed onto the railing, balancing precariously above the dark water. Tell the police whatever you want, she said, her voice eerily calm. They'll never find enough evidence to connect me to the others, and I'll be long gone by the time they try. Before Michael could respond, Rebecca stepped backward off the railing, disappearing into the water below, with barely a splash. Michael rushed to the side, searching the darkening waves, but saw no sign of her. Had she planned this escape route all along? Was there a smaller boat waiting beyond the marina? Or had she chosen death over capture? Michael had no time to consider these questions. Lily was still somewhere on this boat, sedated and vulnerable. He ran to the cabin door and descended the narrow stairs into the yacht's interior. Lily, he called, checking each luxurious compartment with growing urgency. He found her in the master bedroom, at the stern small body curled on the oversized bed. Her school uniform had been replaced with unfamiliar clothes, her dark hair roughly cut short in an obvious attempt to alter her appearance. An empty syringe lay on the bedside table. Lily, Michael whispered, gathering her carefully into his arms, checking for a pulse. It beat steadily beneath his fingers. Her breathing seemed normal, though she didn't stir at his touch or voice. Relief weakened his knees, and he sank onto the bed, cradling his daughter against his chest. I've got you, sweetheart. You're safe now. I've got you. A groan from the adjoining bathroom caught his attention. Michael gently laid Lily back on the bed and moved cautiously toward the sound. James Foster sat slumped against the shower stall, blood seeping from a wound on his temple. His eyes fluttered open as Michael appeared in the doorway. She double-crossed me. Foster mumbled, his speech slurred. Was gonna leave me behind, take all the money. He attempted to rise but slumped back down. Hit me when I wasn't looking. Always knew she would, eventually. Michael felt no sympathy for the man. The police will be here soon. You can tell them everything and hope for leniency, or you can protect her and face the full consequences alone. Foster laughed weakly. Protect Rebecca after this. He gestured to his bleeding head. I'll tell them everything. About all the men, all the kids, about Catherine, everything. The wail of police sirens grew louder, no longer in the distance, but approaching the marina. Red and blue lights flashed against the cabin walls. That's my cue to return to my daughter, Michael said coldly. Enjoy prison. He returned to Lily, who remained unconscious but stable. Gathering her carefully in his arms, he carried her up to the deck, where police officers were already boarding, weapons drawn. Michael Davenport. He identified himself immediately. This is my daughter, Lily. She needs medical attention. The kidnapper, James Foster, is below deck, injured but conscious. Rebecca Morrison went overboard. You'll need Harbor Patrol to search for her. Detective Torres pushed through the officers, her expression grim but professional. Medical team is standing by, she said, gesturing toward the dock where paramedics waited with a stretcher. Mr. Davenport, I know you have every reason to distrust me, but please let me help now. Michael hesitated, then nodded curtly. He would never forgive Torres for her role in this nightmare, but right now Lily's well-being was all that mattered. As he carried his daughter down the gangway, Michael felt her stir slightly in his arms. Her eyelids fluttered, though they didn't fully open. Daddy, she murmured, the words slurred with sedation. I'm here, Lily. Michael held her closer, his voice breaking. I've got you. You're safe now. A ghost of a smile touched her lips before she drifted back to unconsciousness. Michael surrendered her reluctantly to the paramedics, who quickly established an IV and loaded her into the waiting ambulance. Sir, we need to check you out too, a young EMT said, eyeing the blood on Michael's face and the way he cradled his ribs. I'm riding with my daughter, Michael replied in a tone that brooked no argument. You can check me at the hospital. The next hours passed in a blur of hospital corridors, medical terminology, and police questions. Lily was treated for sedative overdose, the doctors assuring Michael she would recover completely. James Foster was arrested, his injury treated before he was taken into custody. Harbor Patrol searched for Rebecca but found no trace beyond a life jacket floating half a mile offshore. Victoria arrived at the hospital with court documents officially restoring Michael's full custody of Lily. Carolyn came too tearful and remorseful, explaining how Rebecca had manipulated her through threats against Jessica. She showed me doctored photos, Carolyn whispered, her hands trembling around a hospital coffee cup. Horrible images of Jessica that she threatened to release online. Said she had connections who would ensure Jessica's life was ruined. I was terrified, Michael. I'm so sorry. Michael found forgiveness easier than he expected. Fear for one's child created impossible choices. He understood that now, more viscerally than ever. Sometime after midnight, Michael sat alone beside Lily's hospital bed, watching the steady rise and fall of her chest. The doctors had assured him she would wake naturally by morning, the sedative metabolizing without lasting effects. His own injuries had been treated, 3 cracked ribs bandaged, and the claw marks on his face cleaned and dressed. In the quiet beeping of hospital monitors, Michael had time to process everything that had happened. Rebecca's revelation about Catherine haunted him most. Had he truly been so absorbed in his work that he missed signs of his wife being slowly poisoned? The guilt threatened to suffocate him until he reminded himself that Rebecca was a practiced manipulator. She might have been lying to torment him further. Yet the possibility remained another burden to carry alongside the knowledge that his daughter had suffered horrible abuse while under his roof. He had failed to protect the 2 people he loved most in this world. Never again, Michael vowed silently, watching Lily's peaceful face in the dim light. From this moment forward, nothing would take precedence over her safety and happiness. Not work, not money, nothing. Dawn was breaking when Lily finally stirred, her eyelids fluttering open. She looked confused momentarily, taking in the unfamiliar hospital room before her gaze found Michael. Daddy. Her voice was hoarse but clear. Michael leaned forward, taking her small hand in his. I'm here, sweetheart. You're safe now. Lily's eyes filled with tears. She cut my hair. Of all the trauma she had endured, this seemed to distress her most immediately, the visible reminder of how Rebecca had tried to erase her identity. Michael felt his heart break all over again. "It will grow back beautiful and strong," he assured her, stroking the choppy remains of her once long locks. "Just like you." "Is she gone, really gone?" Lily asked, fear threading through her voice. Michael hesitated, then decided his daughter deserved honesty. "The police are looking for her. She jumped into the water and disappeared. But even if they don't find her, she can never hurt you again. I promise." Lily seemed to consider this, her small face serious. "She was going to make me be someone else, Emma Peterson. She had a passport with my picture, but that name. She said we were going to an island where you would never find me." Michael swallowed hard against the surge of rage these words provoked. "But I did find you. And I always will, no matter what." "I knew you would come," Lily whispered, her faith in him humbling in its completeness. "Even when she said you didn't want me anymore, I knew it wasn't true." Michael gathered her gently into his arms, mindful of the IV still attached to her arm. "You are the most important person in my world, Lily. Nothing will ever change that." They held each other as sunlight gradually filled the room, neither speaking for a long while. Michael felt something shift within himself, a reordering of priorities, a clarification of purpose. The ambition that had driven him for decades now seemed hollow compared to the simple miracle of holding his daughter safe in his arms. A knock at the door interrupted their moment. Detective Torres stood in the doorway, her expression grave. Michael felt Lily tense against him. "It's okay," he murmured to his daughter before addressing Torres. "What is it?" "Mr. Davenport, we found something you should know about." Torres glanced at Lily, clearly hesitant to speak in front of the child. Michael made a quick decision. "Lily, would it be okay if I step into the hallway with Detective Torres for just a minute? I'll be right outside the door where you can see me." Lily nodded reluctantly, releasing her grip on his shirt. "Promise you'll come right back." "Promise." Michael kissed her forehead before joining Torres in the hallway, positioning himself so Lily could still see him through the open door. "What is it?" he asked quietly. "Harbor Patrol found a body washed up on the rocks about a mile from the marina," Torres said, keeping her voice low. "It's Rebecca Morrison." Michael felt a complex surge of emotions, relief predominant among them. "You're certain?" Torres nodded. "Positive identification." "She's dead, Mr. Davenport. The nightmare is truly over." Michael glanced back at Lily, who was watching them with undisguised anxiety. "Thank you for telling me. I'll explain it to her when she's stronger. For now, knowing Rebecca can never return is enough." As Torres left, Michael returned to Lily's bedside, resuming his place beside her. She immediately reached for his hand. "Is Rebecca dead?" she asked directly, her perceptions startling him once again. Michael considered lying to protect her, then realized his daughter had endured enough deception. "Yes, sweetheart. The police found her body. She can never hurt you or anyone else again." Lily absorbed this information with surprising composure. "I don't want to be happy someone died," she said finally, "but I'm glad she can't come back." "That's a very mature way to feel," Michael assured her, amazed yet again by his daughter's emotional wisdom. "When can we go home?" Lily asked, changing the subject with the resilience only children possess. Home. The word resonated differently now. The house that had once felt like a showplace designed to impress business associates rather than nurture a family would need to change. Just as he had changed. "Soon," Michael promised. "But when we do, things will be different. Better." "Different how?" Michael smiled, the first genuine smile in what felt like years. "Well, for starters, I'm going to work from home much more, and I thought maybe we could redecorate your room, make it exactly how you want it." Lily's face brightened. "Can I have a canopy bed and a bookshelf that goes all the way to the ceiling with a rolling ladder?" "Absolutely. And what about a proper art studio? I've seen your drawings, Lily. You're incredibly talented." For the next hour, they planned renovations to the house and changes to their lives. Michael promised less travel, more family meals, and weekend adventures. Lily asked for a puppy, a request Michael found impossible to deny. Each suggestion built upon the last, creating a vision of a new life from the ashes of trauma. Dr. Sharma arrived mid-morning to examine Lily, pronouncing her physically recovered from the sedative, but recommending psychological support in the coming weeks. "Children are resilient," she told Michael quietly as Lily dozed. but they need help processing traumatic experiences. I can recommend an excellent child psychologist who specializes in cases like this. Thank you, Michael replied sincerely. Whatever she needs, regardless of cost. Dr. Sharma studied him thoughtfully. And what about you, Mr. Davenport? This has been traumatic for you as well. The question caught Michael off guard. He had been so focused on Lily's recovery that he hadn't considered his own. I'll be fine. I just need to know she's safe. Parents often neglect their own healing in favor of their children's, Dr. Sharma observed gently. But you can't be the parent she needs if you're carrying unaddressed trauma. Consider therapy for yourself as well, for both your sakes. Her words resonated more than Michael wanted to admit. The rage, guilt, and fear of the past week had left scars that wouldn't disappear simply because the danger had passed. I'll think about it, he promised, meaning it. By afternoon, Lily was deemed stable enough for discharge. Michael carried her through the hospital corridors, despite offers of a wheelchair, unwilling to relinquish physical contact just yet. The press had gathered outside, alerted to the dramatic kidnapping and rescue. Michael shielded Lily from their cameras, hurrying to the waiting car, where his driver Marcus stood protectively. "Straight home, sir?" Marcus asked as they settled in the back seat. Michael looked at Lily curled against his side, her shortened hair catching the sunlight. "No," he decided suddenly. "Take us to Crane Beach first." Lily looked up in surprise. "The beach, really?" "Really, I think we both need to see the ocean. The good version of it, not like last night." The drive to Crane Beach took them along coastal roads, windows down to let in the salt air. Lily gradually relaxed against him, pointing out interesting sights along the way. By the time they arrived, her smile had returned, tentative but genuine. They walked barefoot along the shoreline, pants rolled up against the chilly autumn waves. Lily collected shells and sea glass, displaying each find proudly. Michael watched her, marveling at children's capacity for joy, even in the aftermath of horror. Standing at the edge of the vast Atlantic, Michael felt something loosen in his chest. Rebecca was gone, returned to the depths from which she had seemingly emerged. Lily was safe beside him, resilient and strong. They would both carry scars from this ordeal, but they would heal together. "Daddy, look," Lily called, holding up a perfect sand dollar. "It's whole, not broken at all." "It's beautiful," Michael agreed, kneeling beside her on the wet sand. "Incredibly lucky to find one intact." Lily studied the delicate disc in her palm. "Maybe we're lucky too. We got broken, but we found each other again." Michael gathered her close, overwhelmed by her simple wisdom. "We did, sweetheart, and nothing will ever separate us again." As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the sand, Michael made a silent vow to the universe, to Catherine's memory, to Lily, and to himself. He would rebuild their lives on a foundation of presence, not absence, of connection, not ambition, of love, not wealth. The nightmare had ended. The healing could begin. Morning light filtered through new curtains in Lily's bedroom, casting a warm glow across walls freshly painted in her chosen shade of sky blue. 3 weeks had passed since the nightmare at the marina. 3 weeks of healing, of cautious steps toward normalcy, of rebuilding a life shattered by betrayal and violence. Michael stood in the doorway watching his daughter sleep. The short haircut that had initially devastated her had been shaped by a professional stylist into a fashionable bob that Lily now declared actually pretty cool. Beneath her pillow, one small hand clutched Mr. Whiskers, the stuffed cat that had accompanied her to therapy sessions twice weekly. Dr. Eleanor Reed, the child psychologist recommended by the hospital, had become Lily's trusted confidant. Michael marveled at how skillfully Dr. Reed navigated his daughter's trauma, using play therapy and art to help Lily process experiences too complex for words alone. "Healing isn't linear," Dr. Reed had cautioned Michael during their private consultation. "There will be good days and difficult days. Nightmares, regression, anger, fear. Your job isn't to eliminate these responses, but to provide consistent safety while she works through them." True to prediction, nightmares had come frequently at first. Michael would wake to Lily's screams, rush to her room, and hold her until the terror subsided. Gradually, the episodes became less frequent, though they hadn't disappeared entirely. On the pillow, Lily stirred, eyelids fluttering open. For one heartbreaking moment, confusion and fear clouded her expression before recognition dawned. "Morning, Daddy," she mumbled, voice thick with sleep. Morning sunshine. Michael crossed the room and sat on the edge of her bed. How did you sleep? No dreams. Lily stretched like a small cat, Mr. Whiskers clutched to her chest. Not bad ones, anyway. Michael smiled, relief warming his chest. That's great. Ready for breakfast. I thought we could try those pumpkin pancakes you saw on the cooking show. Lily sat up eagerly. With chocolate chips. Is there any other way? Laughter, still somewhat rare but increasingly frequent, bubbled from Lily as she scrambled out of bed. Race you to the kitchen. Michael deliberately slowed his pace, allowing her to win as she dashed down the hallway in her penguin pajamas. These small moments of joy felt miraculous after everything they'd endured. The kitchen, like much of the house, had transformed over the past weeks. Once a showplace of stainless steel and granite designed for caterers rather than family cooking, it now contained evidence of actual living children's artwork, magnetized to the refrigerator, cookbooks splayed open on counters, a vase of wildflowers Lily had collected from their garden. Michael had taken a leave of absence from his company, shocking his board of directors, but standing firm against their objections. For the first time in his adult life, work had receded to the periphery of his consciousness, replaced by a singular focus on his daughter's healing and their relationship. They fell into an easy rhythm, preparing breakfast together, Lily measuring ingredients while Michael heated the griddle. Domestic tasks that once seemed beneath his notice now formed the backbone of their new life, each shared activity another brick in the foundation of trust they were rebuilding. Can we see Dr. Reed today? Lily asked, carefully dropping chocolate chips into pancake batter. I want to show her my new pictures. Absolutely, we have an appointment at 2. Michael flipped a perfectly golden pancake. And I thought maybe afterward we could visit the aquarium, the penguin exhibit you like. Lily nodded enthusiastically, then grew contemplative, her small face serious in the way that still startled Michael with its premature wisdom. Daddy, when do you have to go back to work? The question caught him off guard. Not for a while yet, sweetheart. I'm taking a long break to be with you. But you're the boss. Don't they need you there? Michael set down his spatula and knelt to meet his daughter's eyes. They're managing just fine. And even when I do go back, things will be different. I promise I won't disappear into my work again. Lily studied him with that penetrating gaze that seemed to read his very thoughts. Rebecca said you worked so much because you wanted to get away from me, because I reminded you too much of Mom. The casual cruelty of Rebecca's manipulation stunned Michael anew. He took Lily's small hands in his, choosing his words carefully. That was a terrible lie, he said softly. You are the best part of my life, Lily. Yes, you do remind me of your mother sometimes in the most beautiful ways. Her kindness, her courage, her creativity. Those reminders are precious to me, not painful. Then why did you work all the time? The question held no accusation, only genuine curiosity. Michael sighed, owing her honesty. Because I was scared, sweetheart. After Mom died, I was terrified of failing you. I thought if I worked harder, made more money, built more security, somehow that would make up for her not being here. But I was wrong. What you needed wasn't more money or bigger houses. You needed me present and attentive. I understand that now. Lily absorbed this explanation, then nodded with solemn acceptance. The pancake is burning. Michael turned to find a plume of smoke rising from the griddle. So it is. He quickly scraped off the blackened disc-opening windows to clear the smoke. Culinary disaster averted. Lily giggled, the serious moment passing as quickly as it had arrived. This, too, was part of her healing process, Dr. Reed had explained. Children moved in and out of trauma processing, interspersing intense emotional work with ordinary childhood joys. They were finishing breakfast when the doorbell rang. Michael tensed automatically, his hard-won sense of security momentarily disrupted. Though Rebecca was confirmed dead, her body identified beyond question, the network of accomplices she had cultivated remained a lingering concern. Stay here, he told Lily, moving cautiously to the security panel by the front door. The monitor displayed Detective Torres standing on their front porch, her expression grave. Though Torres had shown genuine remorse for her role in their ordeal, Michael maintained a careful distance, unable to fully forgive her complicity, however unwitting. It's Detective Torres, he told Lily, whose shoulders visibly relaxed. Is she bringing more questions? Lily asked wearily. The police investigation had necessitated multiple interviews, each carefully supervised by Dr. Reed to minimize additional trauma. Let's find out, Michael replied, unlocking the door. Torres looked exhausted, dark circles beneath her eyes suggesting sleepless nights. Mr. Davenport, I apologize for coming unannounced. There's been a development I thought you should hear directly from me. Michael hesitated, then stepped aside. Come in, we've just finished breakfast. He led Torres to the living room, now warmed by family photographs and comfortable furniture that invited relaxation rather than impressed visitors. Lily remained in the kitchen doorway, wary but curious. Hello, Lily. Torres greeted her with gentle respect. Those are beautiful drawings on the refrigerator. Did you make them? Lily nodded, venturing a step closer. In art therapy with Dr. Reed. They show real talent, Torres said sincerely. I especially like the dolphin. A small smile touched Lily's lips. It's actually a porpoise. They look similar, but porpoises have different teeth and dorsal fins. I stand corrected, Torres replied with appropriate seriousness. Thank you for teaching me something new today. Michael felt a surge of pride at his daughter's knowledge and her growing confidence in sharing it. Lily, would you like to show Detective Torres your science project while I make some coffee? This transparent attempt to provide a few moments of adult conversation succeeded as Lily brightened at the opportunity to display her work. It's about marine ecosystems, she informed Torres, leading her to a detailed diorama set up in the corner of the living room. In the kitchen, Michael prepared coffee, his mind racing with possibilities about Torres's unexpected visit. The investigation into Rebecca's network had continued after her death, with James Foster cooperating extensively in exchange for a reduced sentence. What new information could be so urgent it required a personal visit? When he returned with 2 coffee cups, Lily was earnestly explaining the difference between kelp forests and coral reefs to an attentive Torres. The detective's genuine interest in his daughter softened Michael's lingering resentment slightly. Lily, Michael said, would you mind working on your reading assignment upstairs for a little while? Detective Torres and I need to discuss some grown-up things. Lily glanced between them, her intuition sharp as ever. Is it about Rebecca? Michael saw no point in lying. Yes, sweetheart. I'll tell you anything important afterward, I promise. Lily nodded soberly. Okay, but remember, no secrets that affect me. That's our new rule. No secrets, Michael confirmed. It was indeed their new family policy, carefully crafted with Dr. Reed's guidance. Age-appropriate honesty had become the cornerstone of rebuilding trust. Once Lily had gone upstairs, Michael turned to Torres. What's happened? Torres set down her coffee cup, choosing her words carefully. We've been investigating Rebecca's background extensively, trying to identify her entire network. Foster has been cooperative, but his knowledge was limited to recent operations. And Michael prompted, tension building in his chest. We found a safe deposit box registered to one of her aliases. Inside was documentation of previous identities, finances, and Torres hesitated. A journal detailing her methods and targets. Michael's throat tightened. Including us. Yes, the journal confirms what Foster told us about Catherine's illness being interfered with. Rebecca documented the medications she tampered with, the timeline, everything. Torres's professional demeanor cracked slightly, genuine horror showing through. I'm deeply sorry, Mr. Davenport. The level of calculation is truly chilling. Michael sat perfectly still, absorbing this confirmation of his worst fears. Rebecca had indeed murdered Catherine, methodically poisoning her while posing as a supportive friend. The abstract suspicion becoming concrete reality hit him with physical force. There's more, Torres continued reluctantly. The journal indicates Rebecca was not working alone. She was part of a larger organization that targets wealthy individuals, particularly those with substantial insurance policies or significant assets and trusts. An organization? Michael repeated, struggling to comprehend. You're saying there are more people like Rebecca out there deliberately targeting families? Torres nodded grimly. We believe so. The journal contains coded references to other operatives and targets. The FBI has been brought in to investigate the national implications. Michael thought of other families, other children facing the same calculated predation his family had endured. The idea was unbearable. How can I help? He asked, his voice hardening with resolve. Torres seemed surprised by the question. Help? Yes, detective. If there are others out there doing what Rebecca did, I want to help stop them. Whatever resources you need, whatever connections might be useful, I'm offering them without reservation. Understanding dawned in Tora's eyes. Actually, there is something. The FBI is establishing a task force. They need someone who understands both high finance and the psychology of these predators from a victim's perspective. Someone who could recognize the patterns of financial manipulation these people employ. I have expertise in both areas now, Michael said grimly, though I'd prefer Lily not be exposed to any further involvement with the investigation. Of course, Torres leaned forward earnestly. Mr. Davenport, I know I have no right to ask anything of you after my failure to protect your family, but this task force could save other children from experiencing what Lily endured. Michael stood moving to the window that overlooked the backyard where a professional playground now stood constructed during Lily's hospital stay. The space that had once been manicured for appearance rather than enjoyment now invited play and laughter. I'll help, he said finally, on my terms, working around Lily's needs and therapy schedule. And I want complete transparency about everything you discover. Agreed, Torres said immediately. The task force director will contact you to establish parameters. As Torres prepared to leave, she paused at the door. One more thing you should know. Among Rebecca's documents was a list of names people we believe are part of her organization. Some have been apprehended, others we're still locating. And Michael sensed the detective was holding something back. One name stood out. Caroline Morrison, no relation to Rebecca's alias, but the age and description match your sister-in-law. Catherine's sister. Michael froze his mind, reeling with implications. Caroline has been in Europe since Catherine's funeral. She and Catherine weren't close. She only met Lily once as a baby. We're investigating the connection, Torres assured him. It may be coincidence, or Caroline might be another victim of identity theft. We haven't reached any conclusions yet. After Torres departed, Michael stood motionless in the entryway, overwhelmed by these new revelations. The conspiracy surrounding his family seemed to widen with each uncovered layer, raising questions about whom he could truly trust. Daddy, Lily's small voice came from the staircase. Is everything okay? Michael composed his expression, turning to face his daughter. Detective Torres shared some new information about Rebecca. She found evidence that confirms Rebecca hurt other families too. Lily descended the stairs slowly. Like what she did to us, yes, sweetheart. And the police have asked for my help to make sure it doesn't happen to any other families. Lily considered this, her face serious. You should help them, so no other kids get hurt. Michael's heart swelled with pride at his daughter's compassion, even after all she had suffered. That's exactly what I was thinking. But you come first, Lily, always. I won't let anything interfere with our time together or your healing. We could help together, Lily suggested, surprising him. I know things about Rebecca that grown-ups might not notice. Dr. Reed says sometimes kids see things differently. Michael knelt to her level, studying her earnest expression. Are you sure you want to be involved? It's okay to put this all behind you, to focus on moving forward. I don't want other kids to be scared like I was, Lily said simply. And Dr. Reed says helping others can be part of healing too. Michael hugged her gently, marveling at his daughter's resilience and generosity of spirit. We'll talk to Dr. Reed about ways you might help that would be healthy for you. How does that sound? Lily nodded against his shoulder. Good. Now can we still go to the aquarium? Michael laughed, relief breaking the tension. Absolutely. Penguins await. The FBI Task Force headquarters occupied a nondescript office building in downtown Boston. Michael had been working with them for 2 months now, analyzing financial records of suspected victims and developing profiles of potential targets. The work proved both therapeutic and purposeful, channeling his anger and grief into constructive action. Today, however, his attention kept drifting to the clock on the wall. Lily's school holiday performance was at 3, and nothing would keep him from attending. His daughter had been back in school for 6 weeks, gradually reintegrating with support from school counselors and her continued therapy with Dr. Reed. The holiday concert represented a significant milestone in her recovery. Earth to Michael, Sarah Jenkins, the FBI financial crimes specialist, waved a hand before his distracted gaze. Did you hear anything I just said? Sorry, Michael refocused on the files spread across the conference table. Lily's concert is this afternoon. Sarah smiled understandingly. The one where she's singing the solo, that's the one. Pride colored Michael's voice. First public performance since everything happened. Then we better wrap this up so you can get out of here on time. Sarah shuffled papers efficiently. I think we've identified the pattern in the Westbrook case. Same financial maneuvering we saw with the Hendersons. Small withdrawals disguised as household expenses, gradually increasing in size. Michael nodded, recognizing Rebecca's methodology. And the children, two ages 9 and 11, both showing behavioral changes at school. The 11-year-old was caught trying to run away last week. Michael's jaw tightened. The Westbrook children were exhibiting the same distress signals Lily had shown signs he had missed in his workaholic fog. Where are we on surveillance? Judge signed the warrant this morning. We're monitoring all communications and accounts. Torres has a team ready to move once we have concrete evidence. We need to move faster, Michael insisted, thinking of terrified children living with predators. These kids don't have time for bureaucratic delays. Sarah's expression softened with sympathy. I understand your urgency, Michael. Believe me, everyone on this task force feels it, but we need ironclad evidence to ensure convictions. We're moving as quickly as we can while building solid cases. Michael checked his watch, knowing she was right, but frustrated nonetheless. I need to head out for the concert. Keep me updated on any developments. Of course, Sarah promised. And Michael, give Lily a thumbs up from me before her solo. Tell her Agent Jenkins says break a leg. The drive to Lily's school took Michael through tree-lined streets decorated for the holidays' twinkling lights and festive displays, a stark contrast to the dark work he'd been immersed in all day. He consciously shifted mental gears, determined to be fully present for Lily's performance rather than distracted by the investigation. The elementary school auditorium buzzed with excited parents clutching programs and cameras. Michael secured a seat in the third row, nodding politely to other parents he had come to know during school functions. Their initial wariness, fueled by media coverage of the kidnapping, had gradually softened as they witnessed his dedicated presence in Lily's school life. The lights dimmed, and children filed onto risers arranged on the stage, all wearing white shirts and dark pants or skirts. Michael searched the rows until he spotted Lily looking both nervous and excited in the front row, center the soloist's position. When she saw him, her face brightened, and he gave her the promised thumbs up, mouthing, Agent Jenkins says break a leg. Lily grinned, visibly relaxing at the message from the FBI agent, who had become something of a hero to her. Sarah Jenkins had taken a special interest in Lily, sometimes joining them for ice cream after Michael's task force meetings. Her background in child psychology made her particularly skilled at discussing difficult topics in age-appropriate ways. The music began, and the children's voices rose in holiday songs. Michael recorded portions on his phone for Lily to watch later, but mostly he simply absorbed the moment, treasuring his daughter's return to normal childhood activities. When Lily stepped forward for her solo singing Silent Night, in a clear, sweet voice that reminded him painfully of Catherine, Michael felt tears prick his eyes. This ordinary school moment, something he might have missed in his previous life, now seemed miraculous. His daughter, who had endured unimaginable trauma, stood before her peers singing of peace and light. The symbolism wasn't lost on him. After the performance, children dispersed to find their families. Lily ran directly to Michael, who swept her into a hug. You were amazing, sweetheart. That solo was absolutely beautiful. I was nervous at first, Lily confided, but then I saw you and remembered what Dr. Reed taught me about butterfly breaths. Well, it worked perfectly. Michael set her down, noting with pleasure that her cheeks were flushed with healthy excitement rather than anxiety. Should we celebrate with ice cream? Yes, Lily pumped her fist triumphantly. Can we invite Jessica? She came to watch me too. Michael glanced around, spotting his niece standing awkwardly near the exit. Since the kidnapping, Jessica had become a more frequent visitor, her bond with Lily strengthened by their shared experience. The teenagers who had slipped Lily the recording device had shown remarkable courage and loyalty. Of course, Michael agreed. Let's go ask her. They made their way through the crowd toward Jessica, who brightened visibly when she spotted them. Lily, you were incredible. Jessica hugged her young cousin enthusiastically. That solo gave me chills. Thanks for coming, Lily beamed. We're getting ice cream to celebrate. Want to come? Jessica glanced uncertainly at Michael. Their relationship remained somewhat strained, the shadow of Caroline's possible involvement in Rebecca's network creating unspoken tension. You're very welcome to join us, Michael assured her warmly. My treat. I'd like that, Jessica replied, relaxing slightly. Mom's working late again. The mention of Caroline sent a familiar discomfort through Michael. The FBI investigation had yet to clarify whether Catherine's sister was victim or perpetrator in Rebecca's scheme. Caroline had returned from Europe after the kidnapping, seemingly shocked and horrified by events, but maintained a careful distance from Michael while cooperating fully with authorities. The ice cream shop 2 blocks from school provided a cheerful distraction from these darker thoughts. Lily chattered happily about her performance while working through a sundae nearly as large as her head. Jessica, initially reserved, gradually relaxed into conversation about college applications and volleyball tournaments. Michael was watching this interaction with quiet satisfaction when his phone vibrated with a text from Sarah Jenkins. Breakthrough in Westbrook case. Need you back ASAP, if possible. Conflict immediately tore at him. The task force needed his expertise, but he had promised himself and Lily that family would come first. He weighed his options carefully, then made a decision. Lily, something's come up with the task force, he said gently. It sounds important. Disappointment flickered across Lily's face before understanding replaced it. Is it about those other kids, the ones in danger? Yes, Michael confirmed once again, struck by his daughter's perceptiveness. I wouldn't interrupt our celebration otherwise. Lily exchanged glances with Jessica, some silent communication passing between them. You should go help them, she said firmly. Jessica can take me home. Right, Jess, Jessica nodded. Absolutely. We could watch a movie or something until you get back, Uncle Michael. Michael hesitated, torn between responsibilities. Are you sure, Lily? This was supposed to be your special day. It still is, Lily insisted, and helping those kids is important. DeRai Reed says we're lucky because we have each other and lots of people helping us. Those other kids need help too. Michael marveled yet again at his daughter's emotional maturity. I won't be too long, I promise, and I'll make it up to you this weekend. Ice skating at Frog Pond, Lily suggested hopefully. Absolutely, Michael agreed, relieved by her understanding. Plus hot chocolate afterward. He returned to task force headquarters with mixed emotions, pride in his daughter's compassion, competing with lingering guilt about leaving their celebration. Sarah greeted him with evident relief. Thanks for coming back. We've identified the financial controller in the Westbrook case. She laid photographs on the table. Caroline Morrison. Michael stared at the images in disbelief. Surveillance photos showed Catherine's sister meeting with James Foster at a cafe exchanging documents furtively. We've confirmed she's been using her position at Westbrook Financial to manipulate accounts, Sarah continued. And there's more. We found evidence linking her to Catherine's medical care. She had access to the medication schedule Rebecca tampered with. The implications hit Michael with physical force. Caroline, Catherine's own sister, had been complicit in her death and in the subsequent targeting of Lily. The betrayal reached deeper than he had imagined possible. Where is she now? He managed, his voice tight with suppressed emotion. That's the problem. She missed work today. Her apartment is empty. Passport activity shows she left for the Cayman Islands yesterday. Jessica, Michael whispered, cold fear washing over him. My niece is with Lily right now. Understanding dawned immediately on Sarah's face. You think she might be involved too? I don't know. Michael was already reaching for his coat, primal parental instinct, overriding all other considerations. But I'm not taking chances. Send a team to my house, now. The drive home passed in a blur of terrible possibilities. Had Jessica been manipulated by her mother? Was she an innocent bystander or an active participant? Caroline's apparent flight suggested guilt, but that didn't necessarily implicate her daughter. Yet Michael couldn't dismiss the coincidence of Jessica appearing at Lily's performance on the same day Caroline fled the country. He called home repeatedly, receiving no answer from either Jessica's cell phone or the house line. Panic threatened to overwhelm him as he pushed his car to dangerous speeds through evening traffic. The house appeared peaceful as he screeched into the driveway, lights glowing warmly from within. Michael approached cautiously, drawing the small caliber handgun he'd been trained to use during his work with the task force. The front door stood ajar, increasing his alarm. Inside, silence greeted him. No television sounds, no voices, nothing to indicate the presence of the girls. Lily, he called, moving room to room with growing dread. Jessica, The kitchen showed signs of interrupted activity, popcorn scattered across the counter, a half-filled bowl abandoned. Michael's heart pounded painfully as he climbed the stairs, checking each bedroom with increasing desperation. Empty. Every room empty. A noise from the backyard caught his attention. Voices very faint. Michael moved to the window overlooking the garden and finally spotted them. Lily and Jessica sat inside the elaborate treehouse, illuminated by the structure's small, built-in lights, apparently deep in serious conversation. Relief weakened Michael's knees momentarily. They were safe simply outside where they couldn't hear the phone. He watched for a moment longer, noting Jessica's animated gestures and Lily's attentive posture. Something about their interactions seemed intense, important. Rather than interrupting immediately, Michael slipped quietly into the garden, approaching the treehouse with deliberate stealth. As he drew closer, fragments of conversation became audible. "Mom said I had to choose," Jessica was saying, her voice strained with emotion. "That's why she left without me. She said I could either come with her to the islands or stay here and face everything alone." "But you didn't do anything wrong," Lily's voice replied with characteristic directness. "I knew things, Lily. I suspected Mom was involved with bad people. I should have told someone sooner before Rebecca hurt you." Michael froze beneath the treehouse, absorbing these revelations. Jessica had suspected Caroline's involvement, yet remained silent. But she had also helped Lily record evidence against Rebecca, potentially betraying her own mother's conspiracy in the process. "You did tell someone," Lily insisted. "You helped me when it mattered most. That's what counts." Jessica's sob carried clearly in the night air. "Mom said if I didn't come with her, they'd think I was part of it all, that I'd go to jail too." "That's not true," Michael called up, unable to remain silent any longer. Both girls startled violently. Lily's face appeared at the treehouse window, quickly followed by Jessica's tear-streaked countenance. "Daddy, you scared us." "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I called, but you didn't answer. I was worried." Michael climbed the ladder, joining them in the cozy space illuminated by string lights. "Jessica, I heard what you were saying about your mother." Jessica paled, shrinking back against the wall. "Are the police coming for me too?" "No," Michael assured her firmly. "The task force knows you helped Lily. You're not suspected of any wrongdoing." "But I knew," Jessica whispered miserably. "Not everything, but enough to guess. Mom started acting strange after Aunt Catherine got sick, having secret phone calls, unexplained money. When Rebecca came into your lives, I recognized the pattern." Michael sat carefully on one of the treehouse cushions, maintaining enough distance to avoid crowding the frightened teenager. "Why didn't you say something earlier?" "I was scared," Jessica admitted, tears flowing freely. "Mom told me terrible things would happen if I ever talked about our family business. When I realized what was happening to Lily, I couldn't stay silent anymore, but I was too afraid to come forward directly. That's why I helped Lily record everything instead." "You saved us," Lily said firmly, taking her cousin's hand. "That's what matters." Michael studied Jessica thoughtfully, seeing genuine remorse in her expression. "When did your mother tell you she was leaving the country?" "Last night. She said people were asking questions at work, that it wasn't safe anymore. She had tickets for both of us." Jessica's voice broke. "I told her I wouldn't go, that what she did to Aunt Catherine and Lily was unforgivable. She said I was making a terrible mistake, that I'd regret choosing you over family." "You are choosing family," Michael said quietly. "The right side of it." Jessica looked up, hope flickering across her tear-stained face. "You don't hate me for not speaking up sooner." "No, Jessica. You were in an impossible position, manipulated by adults who should have protected you." Michael chose his next words carefully. "What I would like is for you to tell the task force everything you know. Your testimony could help save other families from experiencing what we did." "I will," Jessica promised immediately. "Everything I know about Mom's contacts, the other people involved, all of it." Headlights swept across the garden as vehicles pulled into the driveway. Lily tensed automatically, her trauma response still easily triggered by unexpected arrivals. "It's okay," Michael assured both girls. "That's Agent Jenkins and Detective Torres. I called them when I couldn't reach you." Jessica paled again. "Are they going to arrest me?" "No," Michael said firmly. "They're going to listen to what you know, and they're going to help you. You're a witness, Jessica, not a suspect. And after tonight, you're also family. You'll stay with us as long as you need to. Lily nodded enthusiastically. You can have the blue guest room. We can decorate it however you want. Jessica's expression transformed with dawning hope. You'd let me stay, even after everything my mother did. You are not your mother, Michael said gently. You proved that when you helped Lily. Now shall we go down and talk to the agents? The sooner we share what you know, the sooner we can help those other families. The three of them descended from the treehouse together, Michael supporting both girls with a protective arm around each. As they walked toward the house where Sarah and Torres waited, Michael felt a profound shift in his understanding of family. The betrayal by blood relatives had nearly destroyed them, yet here they were creating a new family foundation built on choice rather than obligation. Spring sunshine warmed the garden where Michael knelt beside Lily, carefully planting tomato seedlings. 10 months had passed since the nightmare with Rebecca. 10 months of healing, growth, and rebuilding. Gentle with the roots, Michael instructed, demonstrating how to spread the delicate filaments in the soil. They need room to grow. Lily concentrated intensely on her task, tongue caught between her teeth, in that familiar expression of focus she had inherited from Catherine. At 8 years old, she displayed remarkable recovery from her trauma, though occasional nightmares and anxiety triggers remained. Like this, she asked, patting soil around her seedling with dirty fingers. Perfect, Michael confirmed. You're a natural gardener. Mom would like this garden, wouldn't she? Lily asked, her mention of Catherine easy and natural. Through therapy, they had learned to incorporate Catherine's memory into their daily lives, speaking of her often and naturally rather than avoiding painful remembrance. She would love it, Michael agreed, smiling at the memory, though she'd probably have labeled everything with those fancy garden markers she liked. The ceramic ones with the little birds on top, Lily recalled with delight. Maybe we could make some like that. Jessica could help paint them. That's a wonderful idea. As if summoned by her name, Jessica appeared at the garden gate, returning from her morning college classes. At 19, she had blossomed in the months since coming to live with them, her initial guilt and uncertainty replaced by growing confidence. With Michael's encouragement, she had enrolled in community college while continuing therapy to process her mother's betrayal. How's the garden coming? She called, setting down her backpack and joining them in the dirt. Tomatoes today, Lily informed her importantly. And Daddy says we can make ceramic markers like Mom used to have. Sounds like a weekend project, Jessica agreed, examining their work. My ceramics professor might let us use the college studio if we ask nicely. The easy domestic interaction warmed Michael's heart. Their unconventional family unit had grown stronger through shared healing, each member supporting the others through difficult moments. His phone buzzed with a text from Sarah Jenkins, now a regular visitor to their home and something more than a colleague to Michael himself. Their relationship had developed gradually, beginning with professional respect and deepening through shared purpose and genuine connection. Task force update, he told the girls, reading the message. The Westbrook children have been placed with their aunt and uncle. Psychological evaluations show significant improvement since removal from their father and Carolyn. Lily nodded with satisfaction. Good. Are they getting therapy like me? Yes, with specialists like Dr. Reed. Michael continued reading. And the international team has located Caroline in the Caymans. Extradition proceedings have begun. Jessica's expression tightened at the mention of her mother, but she nodded resolutely. She needs to face consequences, she said quietly. For Aunt Catherine, for Lily, for all of it. The investigation had revealed Caroline's extensive involvement in Rebecca's organization, including her role in facilitating Catherine's medical manipulation. Jessica had provided crucial testimony, though the emotional cost had been enormous. Sarah's coming for dinner, Michael added, tucking his phone away. She's bringing that key lime pie you both like. Lily and Jessica exchanged knowing glances, their silent communication now conspiratorial rather than fearful. Michael recognized the look, but chose not to comment. His growing relationship with Sarah remained deliberately low-key, developing at a pace comfortable for both Lily and Jessica. I'll set an extra place, Jessica offered casually, and maybe light the nice candles. And I'll pick flowers for the table, Lily added with exaggerated innocence. The pretty ones. Michael suppressed a smile at their transparent matchmaking efforts. That would be very nice, thank you both. They continued gardening together, conversation flowing naturally between serious topics and everyday matters. This balance represented their greatest achievement, Michael reflected. They had not forgotten the trauma or denied its impact, but neither had they allowed it to define their future. As afternoon sunshine filtered through newly leafed trees casting dappled patterns across their garden, Michael surveyed the life they had rebuilt from shattered pieces, different from before yet whole in its own way. They carried scars, all three of them, but also strength, wisdom, and a profound appreciation for the family they had chosen. When Sarah arrived that evening bringing not only pie, but case updates and genuine affection, she fit seamlessly into their unconventional household. After dinner, the four of them gathered in the living room, discussing plans for summer vacation and Jessica's fall semester. Later, when Lily had gone to bed and Jessica had retreated to her room to study Sarah, and Michael stood together on the back porch watching fireflies emerge in the gathering darkness. "The Westbrook case will be my last with the task force," Michael said quietly. "I've done what I needed to do." Sarah nodded, understanding immediately. "You've helped dismantle most of Rebecca's network. The team can handle the rest." "It's time to focus completely on the future," Michael explained. "Lily and Jessica need stability more than they need a vigilante father figure." "They need you," Sarah corrected gently, "just as you are, the man who would do anything to protect his family." "That part won't change," Michael acknowledged, "but the active investigation phase has served its purpose for me. The anger, the need for justice, it's been addressed. Now I want to build something positive." "Like," Sarah prompted, her hand finding his in the darkness. "I'm establishing a foundation," Michael revealed, "for families affected by similar predatory schemes. Resources for therapy, legal support, financial recovery. A way to transform our experience into something that helps others." Sarah's smile was visible even in the dim porch light. "That sounds exactly right for you." Inside the house, Lily called out, another nightmare disturbing her sleep despite overall progress. Michael squeezed Sarah's hand once before responding immediately to his daughter's need, taking the stairs two at a time. In Lily's room, night lights cast a gentle glow as she sat upright in bed, disoriented and frightened. Michael gathered her close, murmuring reassurances until her breathing steadied. "The same dream?" he asked gently. Lily nodded against his shoulder. "Rebecca was taking me away on the boat, but this time was different. This time I knew you would come." "I will always come for you," Michael promised, the words a sacred vow between them. "Always." "I know," Lily said simply, her trust complete and unshakable. "That's why I'm not scared anymore." "Not really." As Michael held his daughter in the quiet darkness, he reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. From devastation to restoration, from broken to rebuilt. The path had been unimaginably difficult, but it had led them here to this imperfect but precious peace. Outside, Sarah waited patiently. Jessica slept securely in her room down the hall. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and joys. But tonight, in this moment, Michael Davenport was simply a father holding his child, the last and most essential protector, exactly where he needed to be.